Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never alone. And you might recognize this next guest if you've been watching for a while. Stephanie Berman is going to be on the show today, which I'm very excited about because she's a money coach. I mean, she, among other things, she's been on 2 shows already. This is her 3rd time back. So I'm pretty excited about that. She is a very small number of people that's been here more than twice. So well done, Stephanie. She is a money coach who equips fellow neurodivergent thinkers. I'm one of those. There's a lot of you out there. I know there are. So listen up, guys. With the skills that they need to achieve financial freedom. And recently diagnosed with ADHD and autism, she understands the neurodivergent tendencies towards like overwhelm and, I don't know, impulse buying. I know nobody had to deal with that over Christmas last month, right? I'm sure nobody's recovering from that now, right? Nevertheless, Stephanie specializes in budgeting basics and leading clients from overwhelm to, oh, okay, I think I get it now. So her wisdom comes from lessons she learned the hard way. Like most of us, right? Everybody gets to learn a few things the hard way. Like going from minimum wage to debt-free living, which is awesome. And she's got a financial coach master training under her belt as well. So since she began her coaching career in 2018, her clients have paid off over $500,000 in debt, which is phenomenal. And so I can't wait for you to meet her. Stephanie lives in southeastern Washington with her husband and her 14-pound poodle mix, Elroy. I don't think Elroy is going to be with us today, but you never know. You never know. Dogs are funny like that. So I don't know. We did have one. You know what? I'm going to bring Stephanie on, and then I have to say something about that. Hello, Stephanie. So much to say about the dog thing. So first of all, thank you for being here. I'm so glad to see. It's so cool to see you again. This is awesome.
Thanks for being back.
Absolutely, man. So there was a show we did way back in season 1. It was like summer of 2023 or something. And we were talking about ADA laws, the American Disability Act laws that, govern all the things there. And the person that I had on had her service dog with her. And so she and I were sitting side by side right here. And then her dog was over here on a thing. And we were going to introduce the dog eventually. Like we were going to say, hey, this is the dog, and have the dog on camera for a little bit. Well, the dog didn't want to wait. And so just jumped in her lap, and just here I am. I'm ready right now. So, so ever since then, if there's any pets in the house anywhere, I'm like, I'm ready for anything. Bring it on.
Yeah, sure.
So,
well, if my wanders in here, I will pull him onto my lap and I will introduce you. He's pretty
bring it on. Yeah. So let's see. So you were on. We talked to you first on the first show that we did with you was last year, I think, and we did 2020. No, it was not last year. 2023, I think. And we were talking about the Aziza project, right?
Yes.
That's the first thing.
Yep.
And then in 2024, we had you on, and you were talking about hydrocephalus, and you had your mom on with you, who was awesome, by the way. Everybody should check out that episode. It was a fun one.
Yeah.
And we were talking about your being born with hydrocephalus and getting the heck out of. Remind me where you were born.
Nepal.
That's what I was going to say. I swear. I promise. That's what I was thinking. It was like on the tip of my tongue. So if you can imagine everybody being born in Nepal with hydrocephalus, which is basically your the fluid around your brain is not going where it's supposed to, and you have to have brain surgery. Brain surgery in Nepal is not a good idea. So So that was quite a story of your mom staying in Nepal and your dad going to the U.S. with you and basically smuggling you on a plane. And so everybody go look for that episode and check it out. It's pretty cool. So today we are going to talk about your journey with your recent diagnoses of ADHD and autism and kind of how that's going, and we'll go from there. So tell us a little bit about that. When was that, and how did that all come about?
It was a long time coming. We probably knew for at least a decade before I finally got diagnosed that I was somewhere on the spectrum. We just didn't know where. Turns out that my medical providers knew back when I was in like grade 2 in 1992. It was back in my medical records. Hey, this girl should be evaluated for ADHD, but nobody told my parents. So it wasn't until 2022 that I've been money coaching for about 4 years, and I looked at the list of clients that I'd served up to that point and the ones that I really enjoyed working with, and discovered that they were all either self-diagnosed or actually diagnosed ADHD or autism. And I'm like, okay, this is a clue. So, and I actually sent a client to get a diagnosis. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're somewhere on the spectrum. Go get a diagnosis so you can, figure out what make it easier on yourself to figure out what tools work for you, should work for you and stuff. So, because autism tools can sometimes be different from ADHD tools.
Yes.
So he went and got his diagnosis, but they're local to me. So I turned around and asked him, so who did you see to get your diagnosis? And called up the same guy. And within a couple of months, I'd gotten my diagnosis of ADHD and autism. So that was back in summer of 2022.
All right. So yeah, about 2.5 years. I said 2.5 hours. Come on. Yeah. Okay. All right. About 2.5 years ago. That's cool. Okay. So, I've heard from several people that I've talked to, and some that have been on the show, that getting there's two schools of thought here. It's like, oh, don't cling to your diagnosis and blah blah blah. Don't worry about the diagnosis and why is it so important? But honestly, with autism in particular. ADHD too, but autism in particular, I feel like that is one that is like relieving, super huge relief after you get that diagnosis, because it puts you on a path that can like help your past, present, and future make more sense, right? Kind of thing. Sure. You're right. Yeah. So tell me about that. How did that go? Like you got out of there and then.
Yeah. So I got my diagnosis and instantly it's like, okay, yep. That makes a ton of sense. Life makes so much more sense. And I'll just embrace them and run with it and not use them as an excuse per se, but use them as a reason as to, this is why I struggle with this, or this is why I find social situations more difficult, or this is why if my parents are here for 5 days, all I want to do is go hide in my room and sleep for 2 days after. Instead, I'm here and recording. It's Jeff. So it's the whole thing. And like I said, it's not an excuse, but it is a reason. And so I try to use that with my clients too, to say, okay, the reason you're struggling is ADHD, but you can't use that as an excuse not to do the things you need to do to be successful with your finances.
Yes. There you go. Well, and that's an interesting crowd that you have attracted to yourself in your money coaching too, because that kind of stuff is tricky for anybody, honestly. I mean, I think sometimes it's a personality thing too, so you got that in the mix too with it,
I actually ask my clients that I'm working with one-on-one especially, but sometimes in the group setting too, I'll ask them, so why did you decide to work with me specifically? And 9 times out of 10 they're like, because I liked your vibe.
Sure. Why not?
So it's like, okay, so they liked my personality and they thought I was helpful. So that's great. That's exactly what I want them to think. So
that's what everybody's looking for in any industry for any product or service. If you don't jive with the person that you're trying to work with, forget it. I'm out the door,
for sure.
For anything. So yeah, that's a big deal. Totally. Okay. Well, and by the way, what's that?
I said especially for doctors.
Yeah, no kidding. So I just want to throw this out here for anybody watching right now, that you know, if you hear anything during this episode that you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, or oh my gosh, I think that's, that sounds familiar for my friend, my kid, my sister, whatever, anything with the autism spectrum, or financial struggles, or anything we talk about today, ADHD, all the things, just comment. If you're watching in Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, just throw a comment in there, and don't have to get super, personal or anything if you don't want to. We just want to know that you want to reach out to Stephanie, and we will make that happen. In fact, I have a QR code right here that if you are watching right now and anytime during the episode that you feel like reaching out to Stephanie would be a valuable thing, which of course it would be, everybody should reach out to Stephanie. Scan the QR code. I make it super easy for you. Just pop your phone up and scan that QR code, or go to that website. And when they go there, what will they find, and how do they get to where they can reach you?
So my website is super simple. It's basically just one page. There's another page for like testimonials, which has a link at the top they can click on if they want.
Yes.
But the first thing they'll see is, after like 3 seconds, they'll get a pop-up that says, hey, join our newsletter, get a free bill tracker, or something like that. So stick your contact information in there and you'll get my free bill tracker, and then you'll get a series of emails after that, with some money tips and stuff like that, and find success stories. And then once you get past the pop-up, which you can also just close if you want to, just being honest here. And once you get past the pop-up, then if you scroll down the page a little bit, you'll see my calendar. And if you're like, oh my goodness, I definitely need help with my finances, I need to talk to Stephanie, you can schedule a time on my calendar. It will only show you the times that are available on my calendar.
Yep. And
that I'm available. And so then you can schedule with me for a free consultation, and we can talk about what's going on with your finances and figure out which of my programs is a good fit for you.
Beautiful. All right. That will stay there for the remainder of the show. So, we'll just keep that up there. I might take it down from time to time when we go to commercial break, but it'll be up there for the majority of the time. So take advantage of it, people. It's good stuff. So you work with clients who also, that like, especially in the financial world, like when you're dealing with finances, this can be a big thing, like overwhelm and impulsivity and right, all that kind of stuff. Like, is that, nobody does what they're doing for a living out of nowhere, right? Like, did this crop up? Is this out of a story that is like your own, that
no,
now you're or what? How did this come about?
So, if you'd asked my husband when we first got married why he married me, he might have said because she's so good at budgeting.
Sure.
So I've always been good at budgeting. I've not ever, I won't say ever, but I don't really struggle with impulse buying on like the daily sort of basis that a lot of my clients struggle with. But I will say that the area that I struggle with impulse spending is actually car buying.
Oh, that's a big one.
I've done it twice, and both times we did it, we bought a new car. I instigated it by saying, why don't we just stop and see what they have? Because we were in the market for a new vehicle at the time, both times, thankfully. So it wasn't like we weren't buying a car just on a whim.
Sure.
And both times we walked out with a car loan. So the first time, it was only a $3,400 car, so not a huge loan.
That's not terrible. No. Yeah.
And we paid it off a little early, so that was great. But still, we had this car loan we still had to pay off, and we were still paying off our college loans at the time.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we did manage to pay off that car a little early, I think. So, but anyway, the second time we did it, we'd finished paying off the student loans, and we were completely debt free. We didn't even have a mortgage at the time because we were still renting. And so we were debt free for 6 days, and we'd been talking about replacing our car. And Jeff is laughing because he can already guess where this is going.
I am laughing because I've been in the, go ahead. Yeah.
So our student loan balance that we'd paid off was $18,000. It took us 7 years to pay it off. Like I said, we were debt free for 6 days, drove past a car lot. I said, hey, why don't we just stop and see what they have? We stopped, spent like probably 4 or 5 hours there trying to get this car, trying to get a deal that would work for us. And we walked out with this car, 2-year-old car. It was a Honda. So this was 2015 when we bought the car, and we are still driving that car now. So it'll be about 10 years by the time this episode airs. It was President's Day, 2015. I will never forget. And can you guess how much our car loan was?
For a brand new Honda, what?
It was 2 years old. It was a Honda Fit.
Oh, Honda Fit. Okay. So a 2-year-old Honda Fit in 2013, maybe 12, 15 grand, somewhere in there.
It was $18,000. It was almost exactly the same amount we just finished paying off with the student.
Oh man, that's a kick in the butt, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah, well, it was a kick in the pants, and we started working on paying off as fast as we could. We paid it off in 22 months.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
So the first 18 grand, it took us, or 21 once you throw in the car loan on that one, $21,000 in 7 years versus 18,000 in 22 months. So we drastically sped that up. And then after that, we saved up. That's when we took our trip back to Nepal, which I think I've told you about.
Yeah.
And then that's when I heard God tell me, you need to be a financial coach. And like I said, obviously I didn't get my diagnosis till 2022. So this was still 4 years before I got my diagnosis. I didn't want to have anything to do with ADHD or autism or neurodivergence or anything, Asperger's, whatever. And so I didn't go that direction right away. And I just struggled in my business for like 4 years until I was like, okay, fine. I can see this is the direction we're going. Okay. And I just submitted, and it hasn't been a completely smooth ride since then, but it's been better. It's been nicer. It's been, I don't want to use the word easier, but it's also been more freeing, I think is the word that I'm looking for. And if somebody says, well, I don't have ADHD or I don't have autism or I'm not on the spectrum or whatever, I can choose whether or not I actually want to offer them coaching. Like if I feel like we're clicking really well in a consultation, sure, I might offer them coaching. But if I feel like, no, you need somebody a little different, then I have no qualms about passing them on to another coach.
Nice. Yeah, no, and that's good. That's good. That means you're in a good spot in your business, man, because a lot of people, especially when you're starting out, it's like, oh, I just got to take everybody because you got to build up that pipeline and build up that revenue. And that's not always the smartest thing to do. You take on the wrong 2 or 3 wrong clients and that's more trouble than any amount of money they're paying you. So
for sure.
So that's good. That's awesome. That's really cool. I love that you sped that up so fast too. Okay, but seriously, you guys are listening, right? Everybody, you're paying attention, you're taking notes, right? That was a big difference between the two.
Jeff, can I blow your mind for a second?
Do it.
So we're having this conversation. I'm just going to tell them when we're filming this. We're filming this on December 26, 2024.
Okay.
And my husband and I talked a couple days ago, and we decided that we want to pay off our mortgage by the end of 2026.
Stop it. What?
And that's going to be a $48,000 goal.
By the end of 2026. So 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That is cool. Okay, everybody. All right. You heard it right here. Once you said it out loud on TV. So you can't not do it now. So in 2 years from this, 2 years down the road, we might have her on before that again. Who knows? But I think we need to mark our calendar for 2 years from now so that we can throw a little party on the air for Stephanie.
Sure.
a mortgage burning party, right?
Yeah.
So nice. That's awesome.
I've already made plans in my head for our in-person one, getting like cookies with like mortgage shaped cookies with like flames coming out of it.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. That's very cool. That is awesome. Well done. That is mind-blowing stuff right there. And anybody that has a mortgage understands why that's a mind-blowing thing to say. So yeah, phenomenal. Well done. Well, tell you what, I feel like we're in a really good spot for a break. So we're going to go to a commercial right now. And as soon as we come back, we are going to be talking about, I got a couple questions for Stephanie that I'm going to ask on the other side of the break. So do not go anywhere. I want you to hear those questions, and you want to hear her answers too. So stick around. Don't worry. It's nothing crazy. I'm not going to, we're not trying to, do anything too, but it'll be good. So stick around, everybody, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
In a world where office workers typically receive 130 daily emails and have an 8-second attention span, CoreCentrica, with her 4 decades of international marketing experience, has partnered with the Learning Code Institute and their 30 years of neuroscientific research. Together, we are crafting unique messaging strategies that resonate, connect, and ultimately convert our target audiences. CoreCentrica, where award-winning creativity and disruptive neuroscience come together. Scan this code now, or call and click, and let us show you how CoreCentrica's partnership with the Learning Code Institute is influencing how businesses connect with their audience, foster engagement, and achieve conversions.
Hey everyone, Coach Greg here from Living Empowered TV, where we help women live empowered lives through amazing guests, life hacks, mental, physical, and emotional health. See us on the Achieve Network, 12 o'clock Wednesdays Pacific time on E360 TV. Don't miss out.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Before we bring Stephanie back, I want to talk to you about something called InvisibleCondition University, or ICU for short. We, as somebody who has had 4 brain surgeries and two other related surgeries in the last 11 years, ICU would have been very valuable. It's something I wish we would have had about 10 years ago. Every time I've had those surgeries, my wife, Catherine, and I, and my kids and our family was just kind of left out in the cold by the hospital. I mean, once you leave their doors, they kind of forget your name. They do phenomenal work while you're in there, but it's really hard to go back to them and ask them questions. So that's why Catherine and I created ICU. We wanted to provide a place for people, that they can find community, that listens, that cares, that walks with them through whatever they're going through, medically, emotionally, all the things. We meet on Zoom a couple times a month, and our next one will be on the 21st. Hey, there it is right there on January 21st. And so looking forward to seeing you there. And if you have questions or you would like to join us, I mean, honestly, come yourself, bring your caregiver, bring your mom, your sister, your brother, whoever's helping you along in this journey. Ask questions, vent frustrations if you need to, find information from me or other people on the call that maybe you're not hearing from your provider. If you'd like to learn more, go to myfreegiftfromjeff.com to get a free month, or scan the QR code and I will look forward to seeing you there. Let's bring Stephanie back on here and keep this train rolling here. All right, here we go. So I told you I had a couple questions.
Mhm.
So one is, so there's so much advice out there for money, right? Like whether you subscribe to the Robert Kiyosaki thing where there's good debt and bad debt and or if you're a Dave Ramsey fan and no debt is your friend, or if you are some mix in the middle of those or something completely different. What is one way that you have had to adjust your like traditional and advice and techniques and stuff to roll with the neurodivergent crowd? Like how did you transition that?
Yeah, I would say I came out of the Dave Ramsey camp.
Okay.
And I've been out of that camp for 2.5 years, maybe. And maybe a little longer. Maybe it's been 3.
Okay.
And I would say like the biggest shift I have made is that I don't tell my clients that they shouldn't have a credit card. Now, a lot of my clients struggle with credit cards, so I have been giving some of the same advice that I would have given back when I was still in Dave Ramsey's camp. As far as like putting credit cards that are giving you trouble into the freezer. And I had a client do that last month. Yeah. Actually, she hadn't even hired me yet, and I gave her that advice, and she did it right away, and then they hired me. So I'm like, great. And I think though, more than the difference in the financial advice or way of thinking that I come to my clients with, the thing that sets me apart as a money coach is, especially for neurodivergent clients, is my ability and willingness to be patient with them and to give my clients whatever they need for that hour that they have my attention. So, and I also don't have a structured program. A lot of money coaches will come and they'll say, oh, I have this 6-month program. Here's what we cover in session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. That's great for someone who already knows how to budget. But so many of my clients have never budgeted before that if I told them, this is what we're going to cover about budgeting in session 1, and this is what we're going to cover in session 2, and then we're going to move on to like other things in session 3 and debt pay down strategies in session 4, it just would not work. Like I've had clients who all we do in their sessions is record and categorize transactions because they didn't do it over the last 2 weeks. And yes, people might be who are listening may be thinking, well, that's dumb. She should, let them find an accountability partner to help them with that or something like that. And that's not necessarily the right answer, because yes, they could find an accountability partner, but the accountability partner wouldn't necessarily have the financial knowledge to help them along the way.
Right.
So I've actually done that with one client in particular. She had a family tragedy happen like 2 months after we started working together, and it threw her for a loop for like a year. And for at least 6 or 8 months after that, we just spent doing that, recording, importing, categorizing transactions so that she could then cover any overspending that was on her budget, which all we were really doing was tracking her expenses. We weren't actually budgeting at that point. Yeah. But now she texted me today and she's like, hey, I'm going to be in my budget today, and I have money for Christmas, and I'm going to be working on it. I haven't taken a peek yet to see what she did, but I'm sure that she has the knowledge now to be able to stay on top of her budget between sessions, because I've seen her do it now multiple times. And now she can finally start to make the financial progress that she wanted to make when we started working together.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes you got to get some housekeeping done, right? You got to straighten things out first before you can move forward. You got to get your house in order, so to speak,
Yeah.
So,
I would say the other thing that I bring to the table where my ADHD, especially ADHD clients, struggle a lot is because my autism brain side allows me to be more able to think about long-term planning. And that is not a skill that a lot of ADHDers have. It's a skill that can be developed.
Yes.
But a lot of ADHDers don't start with that skill. So
Yeah.
I come in there and I'm like, oh, you don't have this in your budget or this in your budget or Christmas or, car maintenance, whatever the issue is. And they add it and they're like, okay, they kind of think I'm a little weird for suggesting they add Christmas in July and start saving for it. But then they get to Christmas and they have all this money saved up and they're like, oh, okay. They go out and do their Christmas shopping and they're fine. Or they start saving for car maintenance and then their car breaks down and they're like, oh, okay.
Smart. Yeah, exactly. That's what sometimes it takes, because when you're in the throes of it, man, you're not thinking straight when that kind of stuff happens. Never. I mean, I have a super simple downloadable kind of thing that I created that was kind of it's kind of something that we were thinking. I don't even know where we're going to use it yet, but it was like the Jeff's top 7 things to do before going to the ER, kind of thing for like the Hydro Warriors out there or the people with the chronic things, and it's stuff like what you're talking about, like the really simple, rudimentary, basic things like, have you eaten enough today? Have you drank enough water today? Have you read, how much sleep did you get last night? How much, I mean, like really simple stuff. But if you're in the throes of feeling like you feel like you have to go to the hospital or the ER, you're not thinking straight. You're thinking panic mode, right? Sometimes. And so you gotta slow them down and walk them through those really basic steps, which I love that's part of what you're doing. So
yeah. Another one. This is a story from this week, actually.
Nice.
I had a client email me 2 days ago, and he said, I have some overspending on my budget, but I have no categories where I can cover it from. And I have access to my client's budget. So
sure.
What I did, I logged into my client's budget and I'm like, do you really have no categories you can take it from? And I had 4 or 5 that he could cover it from. And there was even one category that he was probably looking at and thinking, I might be able to cover it from this. But I told him, and he was like, he didn't mention it to me. So I explained, I'm like, this category, yes, this bill that you have put aside money to cover, only half of the money you need to cover it, is enough to cover the overspending on your budget right now, but it's due the same day you get your next paycheck. So unless you're really worried, just flip the money, put it on the overspending, and then use the paycheck to cover the bill that's due the same day. And again, I didn't check to see what he ended up doing, but he emailed me back. He's like, oh, I did what you said.
See, sometimes that's all it needs. The mental gymnastics, sometimes when you get in the weeds with your own stuff, it just needs that outside expert with the briefcase, to swoop in and say, how about this, totally. Oh man. Well, so I'm just going to throw this out there as a business owner. You're a business owner. There's lots out there. I'm sure there's thousands of them watching right now saying, okay, what's he going to say? I'm curious. Yes, as a person that works at a job that gets a paycheck that's not a different, that like stays the same every 2 weeks or every couple times a month or whatever, maybe they get a bonus at the end of the year or something. That is a really easy budgeting thing, and that is a really easy way to say, okay, only use your credit cards if you can pay them off, and only if what if you're the business owner that's trying to 10x their business this year, and they have some debt, but it's leveraged against an income, and it's an income producing asset, and then they have different, but they're for 2 months they maybe don't take in income, and then on the 3rd month they have like what people would call as a windfall. It's like, oh my gosh, all this money came in. Like, what do you do with that? Like, how do you manage that kind of a financial situation? Is that something you're helping people with too? What's that? Nice.
First.
Okay.
I'm Mike McCallum. It's specifically for business owners, and it teaches you how to transform your business from a cash-eating monster to a money-making machine. That's the actual subtitle. I'm not trying to copyright steal from Mike or anything.
That's fantastic.
But that has totally turned my business around. I actually implemented Profit First the year before. I think I started implementing it the year before COVID started, so 2019, fairly early on in my business, but I implemented it. And then I was able to set aside about 6 months of my salary into a salary holding account, basically. And when I pivoted my business, of course, income kind of tanked until I could really figure out the new marketing strategy that would bring me more clients. And, and so by following Profit First, I was able to I was able to weather COVID, and then I was able to switch my target market. And I've been able to pay myself the same amount every month for like the last 3 years because of that. And and like already I have a spreadsheet that shows me like my entire expected income for however long the clients I have are going to be working with me. And if I'm not mistaken, I think my current salary, even if I don't sign any more clients, I won't be able to give myself a raise, but I will at least be able to continue paying myself until like October, I think.
Nice. I mean, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, that's awesome. Because I think that's one of the one of the top 3 things that business owners struggle with, especially when they're new in business, is how do I pay obviously pay yourself. You want to pay yourself. You have to pay yourself. But how do you figure out how much, and how much do you put back into the business, and and what about the debt, and what about this, and so I think that's great. That's great.
I think that's where a lot of business owners struggle, is with patience and being patient and growing their business at the speed of cash versus what they could do if they took the risk and did take on debt. So that's one thing I would say, is if you're in an industry where you don't need debt to build your business, because I know like farmers, there's not a lot they can do about that. They get one lump sum when they, sell their crop for the year, and then they do what they need to do. But for those of us who can, building your business at the speed of cash and just what you have available to you is a lot safer and a lot more stable than pushing ahead and pushing too fast and taking on debt.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I think that's really crucial for those of us with invisible conditions to stop and think about too, because we don't know, and this is really not just for those of us with invisible conditions, but anybody can end up in, the disability class at any point in their life. They just never know. And so this is a really important point, that if you want to be prepared for the unknown future, just focus on cash and try not to take on debt, because then you will be, if you have cash reserves built up, like I said, like I have the salary account that, maybe I end up, in 2025, maybe I won't be able to work for 6 months for some reason.
Right.
So, or I won't be able to take on new clients for some reason, and I'll just have to work with the ones I have, and then I'll have to kind of start over again, building that pipeline, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And so I would say, really look at Mike's book, Profit First, and give it a read, because it really helped me stabilize my business and feel like I'm on a pretty solid footing.
Nice. That's really cool.
Even better.
Oh.
Because he tells you how much to put aside for expenses too. And if you're in a industry like I am with coaching, where you don't have a lot of overhead, you still put away the percentage he says to put away for expenses. Sometimes you can splurge and treat yourself and get a first class ticket home from San Francisco.
Hey, nice. All right. That's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Is that the first time you flew first class?
Yeah. Actually, this was funny. I just got back from the ADHD conference in Anaheim at the middle of November. And it was that trip that I flew first class. I randomly got upgraded to first class. I don't even have any status with United, and somehow I got upgraded into first class on the way down.
That is awesome.
And then on the way back, my flight was delayed, so I had to switch to a different flight, which led to a longer layover in Denver.
Yeah.
And then I upgraded myself for that last leg home. I'm like, I want to be in first class on the way home so I can get a little bit of sleep.
That is so cool. That's awesome. I have never flown first class. I got to try that sometime.
Oh, it's totally worth it if you can.
That's what I've heard. I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of people talk about it being really nice. So I got to check that out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is cool. I feel like we're in another good spot for a break. So let's go to one last break before we wrap up the show here. So everybody stick around. Don't go anywhere. After we get back from the break, we're going to be talking about, among other things, we're going to be talking about hope. And so we will cover some of that when we get back. So stick around. See you in a couple of minutes.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hi, I'm Jake, co-founder and CEO of One Hope. My friends and I started this company in 2007 out of the back of this truck on a mission to enrich people's lives through wine. Today, we've grown into a state-of-the-art Napa Valley winery that proudly houses a portfolio of award-winning wines which have touched lives through over 40,000 nonprofits at home and around the globe. And it's happening every day. Being rooted in local communities and contributing to initiatives that uplift neighborhoods, celebrate cultures, and promote community. It's what got us here. You see, through every bottle sold, your purchase can make a direct impact on the causes you care about. One Hope's cause of choice has given back over $10 million and counting.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here to talk about. I mean, we're gonna talk about a couple things in this last segment, but and I know I've asked you this before, but I always like it. The answer changes over time. You never know. You never know. There's never a wrong answer. So, I'm gonna pop that QR code back up there. See, almost there it is. All right, everybody. Now you can get a hold of Stephanie again. There we are. Scan the QR code. So, I mean, in 2022, finding out 2 diagnoses in one year is kind of, that can be interesting. And I'm sure there were days leading up to that were a little rough, right? You're like, okay, what, I mean, there's crazy days, right? So on those days, how do you continue to maintain hope?
My faith.
Yes. Good answer.
I've struggled a lot over the last several years with my faith. I forget that God is there and he's watching over me. That's why my dog is named Elroy, because Elroy is the God who sees me. And that comes from Genesis 16. And so that was my theme verse or chapter through COVID and rebuilding my business and stuff like that. So I actually had my dog's name picked out before I even met my dog. And I was just like, I want to get a dog and I'm going to name him Elroy. And he's just the sweetest thing. It's just a great name for him, because then every time I say his name, especially if I'm in like a bad mood or whatever, it's a reminder that God sees me and he sees my circumstances. And it's also a reminder that he's in control of the whole situation. So yes. I feel like as often as I forget to engage with him and be like, hey, God, what do you want me to do about this? And I know that, paying off our mortgage in the next 2 years is a huge goal.
It is.
But if God wants us to do it, he's going to provide the funds, and, he's going to allow us to put money into savings to put on the mortgage at just the right time. And so I'm not super concerned about the how, other than we just have to be diligent with the money that he's provided for us and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to put the money that we need to on the mortgage.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. What kind of dog is Elroy?
He's a poodle mix.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I just said that at the beginning of the show. Memory, the second thing to go, It's, yeah. Poodle mix. There are a lot of poodle mixes out there. Everything seems like there's a something doodle.
Yeah.
Right? Everything. So I've heard they're smart, though. They're just brilliant, amazing dogs. So
he's so smart, and he understands so many English words. Like, my husband and I have taken to spelling things sometimes just so that he doesn't actually know what we're talking about.
That's hilarious. You have to do that. That's almost like you have a kid in the house. You got to just don't say it, spell it. Just don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I assume it's like having a toddler. I've heard the dogs have the IQ of a 2-year-old, and Elroy definitely has the IQ of a toddler.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to have a dog. We've been in June of this year was 25 years of being married, and we have never been in a situation where a dog makes sense. So I am hoping that the next house we move into, we can get a dog, because I miss that. I always had a dog growing up, man, and our kids are just clamoring for it. They're like, when do we get a dog? When do we get a dog? So
we're gonna be groaning out of the house.
I know. Well, we got to get a place we got to get a house to buy first, and then we'll talk about a dog.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. So you talk about moving clients from overwhelm to clarity. That's the journey, right? Is there we have about 6 or 7 minutes left of the show. Can you can you think of a couple stories that would be cool along those lines?
Yeah. So I think probably the client, one of my newest clients, he came in, and the word he kept using was overwhelmed. I'm just so overwhelmed. And I've only worked with him. I think we've had 2, maybe 3 sessions, and we still have ways to go, but we are creating clarity around his budget. And he's, like I said earlier, he's the one who emailed me and said, I don't know where to cover this overspending. I don't think I have the money to do it. And so I was able to create clarity for him in that situation too. And then as he gets more comfortable with his budget, we'll be able to create even more clarity about how much money does he actually have to be able to put towards paying off the debt, which is his ultimate goal.
Right.
So yeah.
Nice.
I've had couples that I've worked with that have, said, you're kind of like a marriage therapist or a marriage counselor. I'm like, yeah, that is one of the hats that money coaches wear when we're working with couples, kind of, sort of, unofficially. So, I've had couples, get an ADHD diagnosis, and then the wife went out and got a diagnosis 1.5 years later. And so, there's that. There's couples who I've been working with for 3 years who are still struggling to figure out what their priorities are when, everything is shiny, and they're always the latest shiny thing.
Right.
And no. You said this. So here's what we did. We talked in their last session, and we said, okay, what are your goals for 2025? And what order do you want to do them? So I had them pick 3, because I was like, okay, I think 3 will be doable.
3 is a good number. Yeah, 3 is usually pretty good.
Yeah, they'll work on them one by one. Yeah. But I was like, they're super close to this one. So, and the wife actually said something really neat. Their first goal is to build a fence. They got a dog last Christmas, nice. And they don't have a fence around their backyard. So she works from home, and she has to put the leash on the dog and take the dog out multiple times a day. And sometimes he asks to go out while she's in the middle of a phone call or a meeting or something like that.
Right.
So she was finally in the last meeting. She's like, you know what? The fence would make my life so much easier. And the husband was like, okay, let's focus on the fence. They're a little over halfway to what they need. And so that was goal number 1. Goal number 2, I think, might have been pay off the credit card. And then goal number 3 was get a month ahead. Because once they're a month ahead and they're living on last month's income, life feels a whole lot more manageable.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Oh, that's cool. All right. Well, I mean, okay. So for anybody who has been watching this show and not taking notes, go back and take some notes. Rewind this and go back to find the YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. As soon as we're done with this episode, it'll be available on demand. Go back and take some notes because there's some good stuff in here. For anybody that's if you're a business owner, if you're a W-2 person, whatever, it's all good, and especially in the neurodivergent world, sometimes we just need some help, man.
Yeah.
So even if it's to rein us in from shiny object squirrel syndrome, right? It's so yeah, that is fantastic. Anything in the last minute and a half that you want to leave our audience with, or any future things coming up, or what? You got about 2 minutes.
I would just say, don't worry about cost. Don't let worry about cost of coaching concern you, because I have multiple programs with multiple price points to cater to all sorts of people. So yeah. And I guess I would just update at the beginning. Jeff said in my bio that my clients have paid off about $500,000 in debt. I think we're actually closer to 700,000 now. I had one client who paid off $178,000 of debt in 2024.
In 1 year?
Yeah, in like 10 months.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was paying off car loan and dental school debt, and his dad told him, if you make your minimum payment on your dental school debt, I will match you dollar for dollar everything above that. Oh. And so he did, and there were months that he's a pediatric dentist who specializes in doing like specialized dentistry where the kids are like knocked out. And so there were months where he put like $20,000 on his student loans because he put in a chunk and his dad matched it. Wow. So, and then he paid off his car. And so he was at the ADHD conference in November that I was talking about, and we had a little celebration during my presentation for that. So
yeah, you did.
And so all that to say, don't worry if you're not a pediatric dentist, it doesn't matter. I can still help you get a handle on your finances. So
it's a beautiful thing.
And code and
yes.
Book a call with me.
Absolutely. I'm going to leave that up there till the last possible second. So yes, book a call with Stephanie. If you haven't been convinced yet that she would be helpful, then you just weren't listening. So honestly, come on, just go back and listen a little bit more. Watch it again. You'll go, oh yeah, I should call her. So, hey, Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. Time flies when you're having fun. It's like the quickest hour of the day. I know, but here we are. So, but thank you so much for being here again, and always amazing to be here with you and hear what's going on. And so thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Okay, here we go. We have, let's see, we have another show coming up Friday, January 17th. So please mark your calendar, set the, like, follow, subscribe, share, set that, the YouTube channel up so that it will notify you next time there's an episode getting ready to air. So, and until then, have an amazing day. It was wonderful to be here with you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are brand new watching, thank you. And if this is your 100th episode watching, thank you. Share it with others, share it with people that maybe would find value in some of these conversations that we're having with all these amazing people with invisible conditions, because that is how that's how we get the word out. Just share. Social media is a beautiful thing. Share. So, all right, everybody, have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time.